In today's episode, we'll do a salon version of a Russian almond using dual forms. We'll show you how to extend nails with their help and how to create your own unique gel that will quickly enhance your designs and speed up your work.
Hi, my name's Connie, and this is a channel dedicated to the art of nail styling. Today's episode is all about dual forms, something that has made a comeback after 15 years. Yep, we've seen these 15 years ago at trade shows, but they couldn't go mainstream because of their price. Now, I remember that a box of upper forms cost around £150, which back then was, whoa. Well, maybe there would be some nail nutters who would pay this much to work with them. But just like with paper forms, the upper forms back then and those we have today are a world apart. Today, we'll show you briefly how to work with dual forms. I hope that you will like this technique, but remember, don't get discouraged if it doesn't work out well the first time around. Just enjoy.
Products and tools we'll use in today's episode are cuticle bit number 1, cuticle bit number 9, cuticle bit number 11, and carbide bit number 7. Bases, perfect base and tip top. Gels, perfect clear and igloo white cream. Special effects: Princess Effect Beauty Maker, Pixel Effect Kopciuszek, Classic Mermaid Effect, Bling Effect in Yes Bling, Gel Brush 2-in-1 number 6, a double-sided gelastic tool, and Master Nail Art 007 brush. We'll also need acid-free primer, wooden sticks, 100 to 180 grit file, laser file, and a 180 to 220 grit buffer, as well as cuticle remover, dual forms, an empty gel pot, and cleaner number 1. Wipe off cleaner and sheer super shine cleaner.
Dual forms have shaken up the nail styling world because they shorten work time. You simply have less to do. The longer the nail, the more noticeable the difference, and in the case of avant-garde or more advanced shapes, it truly makes a huge difference. Today, we're going to do a Russian almond. It's not an easy shape, but when working with the form, you'll see for yourself if you'd be able to recreate it. Additionally, it will be a stunning princess styling, so it will be colourful and very avant-garde.
We start, as always, by disinfecting our hands, putting on disposable gloves, and disinfecting our client's hands. Using a wooden stick, we gently push the cuticles to detach the nail wall from the nail plate. Using cuticle bit number 1, set to 3,500 RPM, we clean the nail fold. We work from the middle to the left, then reverse the rotation and work in the other direction. We dust off the nail with a brush, making sure we don't push any impurities under the cuticles, but rather sweep them away. We remove the lifted cuticles with a pair of scissors. We start cutting on the right, in one smooth motion trying to avoid fraying the cuticles. Using the cuticle bit number 9 set to approximately 4,000 RPM, we remove the cuticle residue and even out the edges.
And here's a surprise, because this is enough cuticle prep for us to move to the next stage of our design. We'll finish off the cuticle work at the very end.
We buff the natural plate with a 100 to 180 grit file, removing any residue from the previous styling. Then work on the free edge of the nail. When extending the nails with dual forms, we need to shorten the nail differently than when working on regular forms. We get rid of the sides only and leave the free edge a little longer.
We don't shorten the free edge fully, just in case something happens. Like if we apply the form too firmly and have to e-file the nail from underneath. This way, the hypernychium is protected from any damage. But if we leave too much free edge on the sides, then in the end, there will not be enough material there and the nails will be prone to breaking. So we can jokingly say that now, while prepping our nail plate to apply the form and product, this is the only time we're allowed to create short, pointy nails.
We match the forms to the shape of the nail plate. We do it once the nail plate is prepped, but before applying any product. When selecting sizes, we must remember it needs to be one size bigger than the one that fits best. We measure by directing the form to the edge of the natural plate. This form is too small. So we check the next one. One size bigger, and if it fits well, we select one a size bigger. Looking at the nail from the side, we assess how much product will fit and if the apex and edge will end up in the right place.
The most time-consuming thing when working with dual forms is choosing the correct size forms. How can we avoid this? Well, it's best to keep clients' records where we can note which forms, sizes, and shapes were matched to each nail. Then, at the next appointment, we don't have to rely on our memory because we have it all written down.
We dehydrate the natural plate with a pad soaked in cleaner number 1, then apply acid-free primer. We use it as if it was regular nail polish, leaving a little gap by the cuticles. Then we apply the perfect base by rubbing it into the nail plate with gel brush number 6. We should only use a minimal amount so that once it's rubbed in, you can still see the buff lines. Too much base coat can create air pockets. We move on to creating our own gel mix. To do this, we need a few effect powders: Princess Effect Beauty Maker, Pixel Effect Kopchuszek, Classic Mermaid, and Bling Effect in Yes Bling. The base of our blend will be the self-leveling Perfect Clear and Igloo White Cream. We prepare the new gel in an empty jar.
It's best to create such a blend in an empty jar. An empty gel jar, for example, but if we don't have one handy, let's not make problems, but look for solutions. We can also create such a mix on our nail art palette. It will be a little trickier, but it is doable. When there's a will, there's a way. Now, note, Igloo White Cream has a higher polymerization temperature, so we only add a tiny bit, just enough to achieve a milky tint. If we want to add a hint of color, we can add some of our favorite gel polish, or try this episode's recipe and check if we can personalize it further to match, for example, our favorite nude shade.
Using the gelastic spatula, we pick up a generous amount of the Perfect Clear gel and pop it into the empty jar. We add a tiny bit of the Igloo White Cream, then in order we sprinkle in some of the following: a few spatulas of Yes Bling, a little bit of Classic Mermaid, Pixel Effect Kopchuszek, and to finish off, some Beauty Maker.
Mixing your own color is a little bit like cooking. If we let our imagination run free, it will be hard to recreate the same recipe. On the one hand, it's good, but on the other, remember one thing: this one recipe, this one portion of gel needs to be enough for all 10 nails, because we won't be able to make more if we run out. Alternatively, we can carefully record our mixes, and in case of emergency, we'll have something to go by. It depends if we're more mathematicians or artists. Time to stir our mixture. We can stir manually, but there's no guarantee we'll mix it all evenly. It will take a lot longer, and there's always a risk of filling it up with air bubbles. This is where the idea to mix with an e-file came to life. Now, we need to choose a bit with no grooves, no texture, an old, unusable bit set to a very low speed. You should recall from previous episodes that sometimes we show you some weird alternative decorating techniques, and then we ask you to use an old brush. Well, today we're going to ask you to use an old e-bit. What's the moral of the story? It's good to have a toolbox with things we no longer use. Might come in handy in a moment, just like this one. Don't dispose of old e-bits and don't throw away old brushes, because you never know when you'll need them next.
To blend the gel, we'll use the Cuticle bit number 11. It has no grooves or texture, which makes it easy to clean and even use again. When putting the bit into the e-file socket, we need to protract it as much as possible, making sure it still sits firmly in the e-file grip.
Why do we need such a procedure? We know that using a regularly set bit would be sufficient to blend our gel, but we also know that during the mixing, level of gel will rise in the jar and will stain the handle. An attempt to clean the e-file from the gel, especially one with an ample amount of glittery effects, will be a long-winded and time-consuming process. And what do I always say? We should decrease our work time and take away from our task list, not add to it.
We start blending the gel. We set the e-file to a low setting. Because we used peach-colored particles, our mixture will have a similar shade. We blend thoroughly so that the white gel doesn't end up creating a marble effect. Once the blending is done, we turn off the e-file, take the bit out of the jar and clean it. Voila! Our Bling Bling gel is ready. We place the mix onto the chosen form using gel brush number 6. We apply from the selected length of the free edge to the top end of the form. We spread the material so that we have enough of it on the sides. It has to be adequately thick too, approximately as thick as a credit card. Then we place the gel-filled form over the nail at a slight angle, letting it drop down and bind it with the natural nail. If the form bounces up, we can pinch it gently with a clasp on top and bottom, or use a mini UV light to cure the product from the top. We then cure it in the lamp for 60 seconds. Once cured, we decompress the foam till we hear that characteristic click, then pull it off from all the nails. We flip our client's hand over and check that nothing's spilled on the underside, and that's it, nice and clean.
As we're working on upper forms, the dispersion layer will form on the underside too, so we must remember to clean it.
We soak a pad with wipe-off cleaner and cleanse the underside of the nail. Using the 100 to 180 file, we even out both sides. They need to run straight from the edge of the natural nail plate. Then, keeping the file at a 40-degree angle, we work on the free edge of the nail.
If the gel spills underneath, which can happen, we don't cry or worry, we just simply fix it. And next time, try to avoid it happening again. But just like with classic forms or any other technique, all you need is practice to reach optimal performance. So if at the beginning we have some spilt gel, we simply remove it with an e-file. Now be careful, hypernicum could be under the nail plate, so we don't want to push the bit too deep under the fingertip. We need to work very carefully. Here for the first time, we don't want to rush. Quite the opposite, we slowly clean the surface under the nail and dust it off with a brush frequently so we can see the surface we're working on to avoid hurting our client.
We even out the mass by the cuticles with the carbide bit number 7 set to a speed of about 10,000 RPM. We turn the finger and work along the side walls. Then using a 180 to 220 buffer, we mat the entire surface of the nail. Using a metal file, we file down the edges. It's thinner and gentler, so we can reach in deeper and with more precision. We apply some cuticle remover, then use a wooden stick to thoroughly clean the space under the nail wall. Using a tissue soaked in water, we neutralize the remover. We wipe the nail well, including the area under the nail fold. Using a pad soaked in cleaner number 1, we wipe the nail again. We apply tip-top top coat, starting at 1/3 of the nail's height. Paint the whole surface, then using the Master Nail Art 007 brush, collect the excess product from the free edge. The line of light was leveled by the use of foam, so we don't need to focus on it too much. We cure in the lamp for 60 seconds. To finish off, we soak a pad in sheer Super Shine cleaner and wipe the cuticles to moisturize them. And we're done. This is what a short, salon-quality Russian almond in Princess Effect looks like when done using dual forms. It looks perfect underneath too. See for yourselves.
And this brings us to the end of our episode. Let us know in the comments below if dual forms have stolen your heart yet, or maybe your team's standard forms. That is a classic styling. Now, I'm very curious about your answers, so I'm waiting. See you in the next episode on Wednesday. Bye.